Jim and Linda here. We are a husband and wife real estate team from Horizon, West Florida.
We are right in the backyard of Walt Disney World. And what that means is we get about 70 million visitors a year. What would it be like to own a vacation home close to Disney so that my family could go there more often and we could maybe make money on short-term rental?
I mean, let's be real. If you have an annual pass, it pays for itself after 2 visits.
In today's video, we want to share some of the important considerations if you're thinking about buying an investment property to use as a second home, a vacation home, or short-term rental in the greater Orlando area.
We're really hearing it a lot. We're hearing it a lot even from our friends who want to come down. Like, hey, where can we get it? Where can we stay? Like, where's a good short-term rental near Disney that's close by that can fit our family? It's very expensive to stay in the resorts themselves. And also there's not a lot of availability. Certainly never for a, oh, hey, we're gonna come down next month type visit, because they're
stay
booked
for weeks.
Up, you know.
Yeah. And so one of the first considerations would be really to overcome some of the objections to the area, that there's too many Airbnbs, the market's oversaturated, it's not worth it. And yet, there's a lot of Airbnbs and there's a lot of hotel rooms.
And there's a lot of people looking.
But they keep building more hotel rooms. And Disney keeps expanding, Universal keeps expanding, because more and more people are coming to visit.
Right.
And so don't worry so much about the naysayers. What we're gonna do is help you to find and do an analysis and see what it would look like if you bought the home and you could use it for your own personal use for parts of the year, and then you could also rent it out.
This is an all year long place to come, and
even when it's hot in the summer.
Right, and you know, and there's just so much to do. I mean, even the fact that Universal, and you can find a short-term rental that is 20 minutes to 30 minutes either way. So whether you want to go to Universal or you want to go to Disney, you can do it.
First off would be location. And location's important because not every municipality
something you might not, people don't
allows
realize.
short-term rentals. Not every county allows short-term rentals. So for example, Orange County, where Winter Garden, where Orlando itself is, doesn't allow short-term rentals.
Does not allow short-term rentals. So some of the closest properties, or like what you might drive through on the way to go to Disney, don't in fact even offer short-term rentals.
Right, and so just be careful. A lot of people say, yeah, but will we ever get caught, or da, da, da. Who wants to find out?
Yeah.
I don't want to find that out, and we'd rather steer you in the right direction so that you could find the right place. We live in Horizon West, which would really be kind of, I would consider this kind of the Four Corners area also, which would be Kissimmee, Davenport, Claremont, and Winter Garden. A lot of your short-term rentals are going to be kind of in Kissimmee.
Davenport.
And Davenport. There are some in Claremont that have good proximity. And so location's important, because what would you say would be kind of an important rule of thumb as far as how long it takes?
Before we moved here and we were looking to get an Airbnb, I kept putting it in my map to see which places were the closest, and I was shocked. Like, why is it saying like there? I want something 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Disney actually, in fact, owns most of the property surrounding the parks themselves. So whereas Universal, you pretty much can be driving and then there's the theme park. So you can get relatively close to Universal, but to Disney, in order to get a short-term rental, you're going to be at least 20 minutes out, and that is close. If you have a short-term rental 20 minutes from Disney,
that's close.
That's gold. Yeah.
Yeah, and really the Universal doesn't really, that's Orange County, so that's Orlando. It's not really going to have the short-term rental as much.
True.
But distance doesn't always equal commute time. First, we have location, we have the municipality. Some of the towns don't allow it. Some of the HOAs don't allow it. The Homeowners Association or the Condo Association may have restrictions on how long it can be rented for. So those are the kinds of things that an expert, agents like ourselves, would really help you to sift through.
We say this not
to
make it seem like the process is more overwhelming, but just so that you know, because you could be looking on Zillow, Realtor.com and not even realize that the properties that you're looking at it would not be an option for you. So it really would be important to contact us and let us help you, because we will be able to find out those questions before you invest a lot of time looking at something that wouldn't even work.
Yeah, and really even going the other way, some of these resort communities don't even allow full-time residents.
Right. Some of them,
you can only be a part-time resident.
You own the property and they'll handle everything for you. So if you're worried about, well, I don't know the first thing, I really want to do this, it seems great, but I don't know the first thing about managing a short-term rental, well, there are places that can take care of that for you here in Florida. And with that, your guests will have a luxury pool with water slides and restaurants right in the community itself. They know that people are coming here on vacation, and so they want it to feel like a resort. It has to give people something to want to stay out other than the theme park.
Yeah, so when you're comparing HOA fees, they're not all alike, right? So really have to have an apples to apples comparison. And maybe even though, and HOA fees, I've seen some that are up to $700 a month. But it's within a great community that has, you know, the whole water park, all kinds of great stuff. And so it's, that has to factor into not only your budget, but also your ROI, your return on investment, right?
Exactly.
So if it's a monthly investment of say $500 a month for HOA on top of your mortgage and everything else, factor that in, because maybe you'll have more people, or it will be easier to rent out on a short-term basis,
more to your customers,
because there's resort quality pools and spa and activities.
Your guests are going to look
right
up
where
your
they
property and they're going to see the slides, and they're going to see the restaurant, they're going to see the tiki bar, and they're going to see the golf carts going around, and they're going to want to stay there. Otherwise, they're comparing it to pictures of hotels, but that might not be, you know, you might be looking for something a little bit more low-key without all the bells and whistles. And so there is an opportunity also for a smaller HOA, and maybe you would then opt to have your own pool in your backyard, because that is another consideration.
Or your monthly or your weekly daily rate can be lower.
Correct.
And it factors in, and maybe there will be, you know, there's a market for all of those houses, right? And even townhomes or condos are still attractive.
Definitely.
But a trend that we've noticed is that the bigger the house, the more attractive it seems to be, and certainly the more of the daily rate you can command.
People are traveling to Disney with having family vacations. So and that means extended family as well. So there are a lot of big groups that come through, and there are girls trips, and there's work trips, and there's bachelorette parties, and
there's
bachelor
sports
parties,
teams,
and there's sports
so they come
teams.
for tournaments, and maybe the whole softball team or the whole cheer team or the football team, and they can kind of have multiple families stay in one place together.
So it's really important that you consider in your budget what size house or townhome or property that you are looking, and the way that you can furnish it to offer the sleeping capacity.
A lot of people are surprised to see that a lot of these places are sold fully furnished. People recommend between $10,000 to $40,000 to fully furnish an Airbnb. So to get started, to use the furnishings that the previous owner had could be helpful, and then you could replace pieces over time. So looking at listings that come furnished or have an option of being furnished is important. The size and it seems to definitely be attractive as far as having a bigger home so more people can sleep more people. I think another important thing that you really like are the properties that are themed.
Oh, definitely.
And by theming, well, tell us a little bit about.
And you may be surprised to realize that because this is such a common thing in this Disney theme park area, a lot of homes are already themed, or it's something that you're going to want to think about as you think about becoming an investor and owning your own short term, is to have those themed rooms, as far as maybe a princess room, maybe a Frozen themed room, maybe a Minions themed room, and you'll want one that will just be pleasing to the eye. Parents want their kids to be happy. They want them to have that wow vacation. So something definitely for you to consider. How are you going to theme those rooms? And as you're looking through pictures, if the home isn't already themed, it's something that you should be thinking about. And how am I going to make this more marketable? How am I going to make this something that my client is really going to be excited about, and people are going to want to stay and they're going to want to come back?
And we'd love to help advise you on theming and point you in the direction of some contractors, point you in the direction of some great stores to find some themed items that you can bring into your property. It's just a really nice touch, especially since pretty much everywhere on Disney property is pretty decked out.
Yeah.
It's all themed out.
Yes.
The resorts, the on-property resorts are very themed. The off-property hotels seem to be very themed. And it's what's going to stand out in your photos as you have a posting on VRBO or Airbnb, or maybe it's just within your community that you rent it out to different people. So theming is an important piece, and we know some great designers and contractors that'll really make your house look terrific.
You know, something else that you might not also be thinking about, if you are becoming a short-term rental owner, host, will you allow pets? Some of these areas, there's a weight limit, so that is definitely something that you'll want to look into. You know, what size pets are allowed in these communities, in these neighborhoods, and then decide whether or not you'll want to. Because a lot of times people are traveling with their pets, they want to bring their pets. Disney even offers doggy daycare, so you could drop your pet off, go into the park, and then pick the pet up on the way out, so it wouldn't even be staying in the Airbnb itself. So it's definitely something to think about and consider when you are going through this process as well.
And you know, several years ago, we took a trip to this area for Christmas. Lynda had saved up for probably 2 years and surprised the family with this trip. And it's just the small touches, right? Like I remember walking in, they had a Christmas tree set up. And it was just, that was so cool, the thought that went behind it. We stayed in a great area in Kissimmee that was close to the parks, so that was really nice. Had a pool, so that was also really nice. So lots of different considerations. I think, you know, there are plenty of online data sources to kind of analyze the return on investment, to analyze the expense ratio and what you want to put into it. It really comes down to what you want. We've had customers that they've been traveling to the area several times a year because their kid is very competitive in playing volleyball or softball,
cheerleading competition,
and they're here a lot. And so they also have other investments in other cities and local to where they are. So it just made sense to buy a place that they could use multiple times a year, and then they could also rent out. You can find a lot of different formulas on how many nights a month do I need to have this place rented in order to break even. And it seems like in this area, the average is around 50 to 60% occupancy, which translates to anywhere from 15 to 20 nights a month is what on average the Airbnbs, the short-term rentals are able to be occupied. Some are more occupied, some are less. A lot of that comes down to the host, and a lot of that comes down to the property management company.
You could be in control of what you want to offer, how often you want to offer. And when you're going through the purchasing process, you can also have access to the previous owner's accounts.
And so you should get their history, their rental history. So we'd love to have you find a vacation home for free. Find a place, get your own annual pass, so that when you come to check on it, you can write it off maybe as a business expense with your investment. You could certainly do some depreciation because it's an investment property to help you with your taxes. It's the kind of thing that could be a legacy. As your family grows, they can grow up coming back. As they have their own children, it could be a place that it could even be passed down. So I think it's a terrific place to have a short-term rental. What are some of your favorite kind of communities to direct people to? or to think about?
I mean, I love the Champions Gate area. I love the restaurants that are nearby there. I look for the traffic. Where can I go back roads and not just highways? And what can we do on the off days when we're not in parks? And Champions Gate is a clear answer for that. But there are a lot.
Yeah, Reunion.
Reunion.
We like Reunion. I think
definitely.
That's great.
Margaritaville
is a terrific
go
location.
Wrong. It's so beautiful.
So great. They've got all of the whole resort amenities that you could think of that are right there.
Yes.
And those property values have been soaring. They've appreciated a lot over the years, and they're just about nearing completion.
They have their own strip of restaurants and entertainment, and it's live music playing on the weekends at night. You feel like you're in the theme parks.
Yeah.
They have a water park actually right there in Margaritaville too. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to consider, but it's so fun, and we would love to help you in the process.
Yeah, and I think even maybe thinking outside of the box, right? Like I think Claremont is going to be an up and coming area for short-term rentals, especially with the access roads that are coming through. It's going to make it a lot quicker to get to Disney and make that area a lot more accessible.
Right, so that would be more affordable right now than say Margaritaville, but it's definitely going to be raising up in price, especially as those roads. It's just some growing pains until it gets there.
And one of my favorites to go outside of the box would even maybe to look at something like Mount Dora. It's about 40 minutes probably from Mount Dora to the Disney parks, but it's almost like you're in a different spot of Florida.
It's a different clientele. So that does think of another thing. Who are you trying to cater to? What's your perfect guest staying in your short-term rental? Mount Dora is known for its festivals. It's only 40 minutes from Disney, which is great. Minutes. You can still make a Disney day out of it, but it's definitely not going to be the focus of your vacation, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're going to have festivals and quaint shops and a really great, cute community and just a character in that downtown that's just really nice to walk and spend
so
time.
all kinds of great areas. We'd love to help you talk through some of the options. So if you're interested, we do have a link to some self-guided tours that can bring you through some of these resort areas. You can get a good feel for it. But we'd also love to show you around. If you happen to be staying in an Airbnb or maybe staying on Disney property but thinking about what it could be like, give us a call. We'd love to sit down and maybe set up a few showings to give you a good idea of what you might be able to get into. Once again, we're Jim and Lynda. We're with LPT Realty, and we'd love to work with you to have Disney right here in your backyard and a fireworks show every night.
Thanks for watching.